Please join me in a moment of centering silence, a brief time to allow our bodies to catch up with our minds and our spirits and come fully into this place. And if you will remain seated and join in singing our ingathering hymn, which is printed in your order of service. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society. This is a community where curious seekers gather to explore spiritual, ethical, and social issues in an accepting and nurturing environment. Unitarian Universalism supports the freedom of conscience of each individual, as together we seek to be a force for good in this world. On behalf of the congregation, I would like to extend a special welcome to visitors. We are a welcoming congregation, so whoever you are and wherever you happen to be on your journey, we celebrate your presence among us. Newcomers are encouraged to stay for our fellowship hour after the service and to visit the library, which is directly across from the center doors of the auditorium. Bring your drinks and your questions. Members of staff and our lay ministers will be on hand to welcome you. You may also look for persons holding teal stoneware coffee mugs. These are members knowledgeable about our community who would love to visit with you. Experienced guides are generally available to give a building tour after each service. So if you would like to learn more about the sustainably designed addition or our national landmark meeting house, please meet near the large glass window on this side of the auditorium, on the crazy bright side of the auditorium, immediately after the service. We welcome children to stay with us for the duration of the service. This is a lively acoustical environment, so if you or your child would like to talk or move around, please remember that our child haven in that corner and the commons are great places where you can see and hear the service. This would be a great time to turn off all those electronic devices that make lovely noises and fun ringtones. And I'd like to say a thank you to those who are helping our service run smoothly this morning. Our sound operator is David Briles, lay minister Tom Boykoff. Our greeter upstairs was Pamela McMullen, ushers Ann Ostrom, Nancy Daly, Marty Hollis, and in the kitchen making our coffee is Nancy Kossoff. One special announcement this morning, that today is Shelter Sunday. It is getting colder, and we are reminded that our homeless shelters need our help. FUS Shelter Ministries need more volunteers of almost all ages to make meals and take shifts. In the Commons after services, experienced volunteers will answer your questions. We are also collecting sheets and blankets this weekend and next weekend, and the details for that are in the news from the Red Floors. And we have a special announcement from some of my absolute favorite people, our youth group.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'm Sammy, and we're here from the youth group here at FUS. We're a tight-knit group of high schoolers that meet once a week on Sunday afternoons. We participate in activities that mirror our shared passions for social justice issues and bettering our community.
However, we are short on advisors to facilitate our meetings.
If you are interested in being an advisor or just want to know more information on youth group itself, you can ask Deb Lawrence, and she will be located outside after the service. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and I hope to see some of you at our next youth group meeting.
Again, welcome. We hope that today's service will stimulate your mind, touch your heart, and stir your spirit. Here in this place, We turn our busy minds toward silence and our full hearts toward one another. We move together through the mysteries, the bright surprise of birth and the shadowed questions of death. In our slow walk between the two, we will be wounded and we will be showered with grace, amazing, unending. Even in our sorrows, we feel our lives cradled in a holiness that we cannot comprehend. And though we each walk within a vast loneliness, the promise we offer here is that we do not walk alone. This is a holy place in which we gather, the light of the earth brought in and held, touched then by our answering light, the flame of a chalice, the flicker of a candle, the lamps of our open faces brought near. In this place of silence and celebration, contemplation and music, we make a community, a family, a home. And if you will rise now in body or spirit to join together in our words of chalice lighting. May this flame we light remind us that every one of us can bring the light of love into the world. May this clear flame be a symbol that every heart can burn bright with joy, peace, and harmony. May the wisdom of ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing to the world. And before we join together in song, if you'll take a moment to turn and greet your neighbor. seated. If you arrived here this morning with a sorrow so heavy that you need the help of this community to carry it, or if you woke with a joy so great that it simply must be shared, now is that time. The sharing of joys and sorrows is our time. In the spirit of acceptance and support, to share with one another some special event or circumstance that has affected your life or the life of a loved one in recent days or weeks. This is not a time for general announcements or political opinion. And as you share, please remember that our listeners are not limited to the people in this room, as our service is broadcast over the web. So for the next few minutes, anyone who wishes is invited to step to the front of the auditorium, light a candle using the microphone provided by Tom, our lay minister. Briefly share with us your message. You may also come forward to wordlessly light a candle, and if you're unable to come forward, just raise your hand. Tom will bring the microphone to you, and I will light a candle on your behalf. Tom, I'd like to ask you to light the first candle for all those impacted by Hurricane Patricia. We send our thoughts and our prayers for safety and healing. And I now open our time for the sharing of our sorrows and our joys.
This is both a sorrow and a joy. My mother-in-law, Marion Spiker, passed away a week ago. Mary's mom, my wife's mom. The joy is that she lived 97 very rich and full years.
This is a celebration of my little nephew Kai, whose adoption was finalized this month.
After 5 years of infertility, I finally have a 3.5-year-old, and I'm so thankful to be in a church that honors little people's holidays where they can dress up and celebrate.
My best friend's son, who's been waiting for a kidney for a long time. We just found out that in 2 weeks, and this boggles my mind, there will be an 8-person trade and all the operations will be in one day.
A candle of hope for career changes.
I have a joy and a sorrow to share. The joy is on October 3rd, I became engaged to my fiancée, Lydia Whittington. And my sorrow is that a good friend of mine who had been in remission from cancer since about June has recently found cancer cells in his lymph nodes.
This candle is for the Edgewood boys cross country team, of whom I am one of the coaches, who on Friday, in the wind and the rain, qualified for the state meet for the second year in a row, beating their rivals and their trash-talking coach by 2 points. I'm glad we didn't have the service yesterday because I just got my voice back.
I'm lighting this candle in honor of my grandfather, Doug Harrinan, who passed away on October 8th.
And Tom, if you will light one last candle for all the joys and all the sorrows, too tender to share, that live in the fullness of our hearts. And now as we rise in body or spirit to join in our next hymn, if we have anyone in the auditorium who was not in the Halloween parade, who needs to leave for classes, now would be a great time. Please be seated. Our first reading today from Jane Ellen Malden. One night not long ago, a little girl was being tucked into bed by her mother. The mom, although tired and cranky, still remembered to go through the ritual of tuck, listen, cuddle, and kiss. She was trying to do it quickly this evening, for dishes, laundry, and other work still stood between her and her own collapse into bed. Thus, the mother was only half aware when her daughter began speaking. "My birds come to me in my sleep, Mom." "What?" asked the mother, startled. "My birds, you know, the penguins." The child sat up and pointed to a zoo poster over her bed, on which appeared a long line of penguins sitting on an ice floe, the bright pink and purple winter sky behind them. "Your birds come to you in your sleep?" By now the mother was fully awake and listening intently. "Yes, that one, and that one, and that one, especially the baby one." She chose 3 black and white individuals, recognizing something special in their appearance, and concluded with the furry, gray, immature penguin at the end of the line. "What do they do when they come to you in your sleep?" The woman watched her daughter curiously. "They bring me good gifts." She smiled shyly and lay back down. "They take me outside to show me the sky. And sometimes they fold their wings over my eyes like this to bring me beautiful thoughts." She folded her arms over her face. Her demonstration done, the child turned over. "Good night, Mom." "Good night, sweetheart." The mother concluded the ritual with a kiss, stood up, and left the room, amazed and delighted. Months earlier, during a trip to the local zoo, she had given the child a choice of several posters. All but one showed a bright, colorful menagerie of various animals in beautiful environments. The girl had refused the more colorful posters and chose the lineup of penguins. How dull, the mother thought. How unimaginative compared to white tigers, alligators, or toucans. She had reluctantly agreed to the girl's choice, concluding that she must not have encouraged her daughter to be daring or adventurous if the girl chose a bunch of black and white penguins over a jungle scene or a fluorescent coral reef. Later that evening, the mother took a deep breath as she did the dishes. She realized she was the one who lacked imagination. Focused on her own ideas about color and design, she had missed the beauty and magic in the penguin poster and in her own daughter's mind. The penguins had brought her a good gift. It was a reminder to be humble in the presence of the mystery of each human heart. And this poem by Zachariah Ashley. I have always loved rainbows. Colors and I attracted each other like vivid magnets, and they followed me like lovesick pets. Red was close to my heart, but it was safe because it had orange around it to protect it. Blue hung out around my head, yellow found its home in my hands, and green kept my feet forever moving. And indigo wove its way through me like an almighty life force. Before bed, when other kids were reciting prayers they couldn't even define and telling God what they wanted for Christmas, I closed my eyes and took journeys through rainbows miles long. I floated through mists of colors, letting each pigment mix with the one before, saturating my soul until it looked like it had been spray painted by dysfunctional deities. I never did finish these journeys awake. Every night I was asleep by the time I reached indigo. Past indigo was violet, where my dreams lived. As long as I was in this cradle of consummate color, I was invincible. But somewhere along the way, I let something convince me that I needed to outgrow my colors, the way leaves outgrow their branches. And I've been falling ever since, floating closer to the ground and drifting further away from everything fantastic. I used to have superpowers. I used to see incredible things, not just my own colors. I used to see colors on everyone. People walking down the street, leaving tinted trails behind them. I used to love everyone I met. I used to mean it when I smiled. I used to be amazing. There's no orange left for me to use to protect my heart. I upgraded to a cold gray and built a wall so thick no rainbow will ever reach it. And I keep myself busy so I never have to think about it. I overload my schedule so I'm always running off in every direction except up. And I know I'm too young to be talking like this, and you can spend days trying to one-up me on whose life has the greater share of misery. But if you've forgotten what it's like to be blown away by how amazing you are, then this poem is about you, too. Your desaturated dreams don't even begin to add up to the degrees of brilliance you deserve. Take your sword and cut through the beige and gray of every piece of pain that you've used to define you. Quit blaming people for ripping off your rainbows and quit hating yourself for letting them go. Remember what it's like to float. Remember what it's like to see colors so pure they made you believe. Well, I almost do too. And tonight, instead of praying, I'm going on the prowl for prisms. I might tentatively tiptoe into red, but I'll dive into orange. It's not even a long trip. Bring your blankets and teddy bears and leave your laptops behind, because tonight we're going to run through rainstorms of radiance straight toward the sun. And if we get separated along the way, that's okay. But don't you dare stop chasing that rainbow. When you get there, I'll be waiting for you. Won't even be hard to recognize me. I'll be the heart full of red, blue on my head. I'll be waiting for you just past indigo. I'll hold your hand and we'll voyage together into violet, followed by everyone we've forgotten how to love. You don't even have to go to sleep. Just remember how to dream.
Cherish your health, don't throw it out.
Thank you, Meeting House Chorus. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it. Okay, how many of you are singing in your head right now? I'm really sorry if it's stuck there all day. Sorry. These words from the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory are firmly rooted in my stores of memory, as they clearly are in yours. They are the first thing I think of when someone uses the word imagination. In fact, several years ago, a coming-of-age student challenged me, if you had to stand up and give your belief statement right now, what would it be? And I sang them that song. They've never asked since. I sang it because believing in the power of the imagination is so essential to who I am and how I am in the world that it was the first thing that came to mind. It is one of the biggest reasons I chose a vocation as a Unitarian Universalist minister, because I feel called to help others create the world of their imagining. This is the beginning of a season of imagination. Our children paraded through at the beginning of the service dressed as princesses, ghosts, goblins, cowboys. My two were a firefighter and a wizard, and the more I thought about them this week, those costumes reflect a great deal about who they are and what they value at this time in their lives. Owen dreams of adventure, of saving people from burning buildings, fighting forest fires, and being a hero. He is the one that keeps me awake at night. Sam longs for a magic wand that could make the world a better place, could turn broccoli into a chocolate-filled croissant. And as he mentioned as I was leaving this morning, it'd be great if he could turn his mother into a frog. It is the time to sit in fields of pumpkins and wait for the great pumpkin. To believe in the incomprehensible, to envision ourselves as mad scientists or dragons, to imagine that anything is possible. We need these reminders to call us back into the world of imagination, because as we grow, we often receive the message that imagination is kid stuff. To be an adult, we must move into the world of reason, get out of our fantasies and live in reality, be rational, realistic, and sensible. Yet I believe we lose something when we stop living at least part of the time in a world that defies explanation. Thomas More once said that we tend to consider imagination too lightly, forgetting that the life we make for ourselves individually and for the world as a whole is shaped and limited only by the perimeters of our imagination. Things are as we imagine them to be, as we imagine them into existence. We take imagination too lightly, he says, or even forget it altogether. Our forgetfulness is confirmed when we say things like, I'm not creative. I've never had much of an imagination. But here's the thing, I don't think that's true. And our Unitarian Universalist faith doesn't buy it either. As we take a closer look at our lives, we notice that imagination is the thing that helps us break out of ourselves and see ourselves as connected to the whole. It is what allows us to put ourselves in other people's shoes, bring empathy and compassion into our lives. It's what allows us to trust and assume good intent helps us paint the picture of what the world could be and inspires us to work to create that world. Helps us paint a picture of what we might become: an adventurer, Wonder Woman, an artist. And then it lures us toward that goal of who we want to become. One of the most precious gifts others give to us is when they use their imagination to paint a picture of what's possible and help us find ways to get past those voices inside us that say, well, that's not possible. It could never work. I can't see it. Imagination is powerful. It surveys the given world, dysfunctional, wounded, constrained, and glimpses possibility. When it comes to imagination, we need reminders of how deeply it is woven through the fabric of our lives, how crucial it is to developing our future. Unitarian Universalism is a faith based on imagination. Most of us in this room are here in this community of questions and dreams because we were looking for a different way to answer those big questions in life. The answers we were given about the divine, or life after death, suffering, evil, our purpose in this world, those were answers that no longer or never worked for us. We imagined different ways, and we found a community with lots of room to imagine gods and theologies and spirit and service with no limit and no boundaries. We found a community that helps us to imagine that the world we dream about is possible and gives us hope that we can help build that world. Now, 2 weeks ago, Michael reflected on reason, shared the power of reason, why it's an important piece of our lives, and he also discussed its limitations. One limitation he shared has to do with the manner by which our brains categorize information. According to social scientists, he said, reasoning is not a straightforward process. Rather, it is conditioned by the stories we tell ourselves. Stories and storytelling are fundamental to human knowledge. And if a set of facts, if a rational proposition doesn't align with our stories, if we cannot fit it neatly into our storylines, the facts will bounce off. They will not seem to us credible. Have you ever tried to change someone's mind with a well-crafted argument just to find that the person doesn't seem to care? Their story has already been shaped, and reason isn't going to suddenly reshape it. Yet we continually try to change people's stories with reason. It is pointed and sharp, and with it, we can explain things with precision and try to cut away what we believe to be error. It may win an argument, but it doesn't win people's hearts. Instead, think of your imagination like a star. It forms slowly over time and eventually grows hot and vibrant. You can't cut it. You can only fuel it with new stories, new heroes, new rituals, new metaphors, and eventually you reshape it. This is why we sometimes recognize a dichotomy between what we know to be true and what we believe. Even though we can rationally acknowledge something is reasonable, our passions fall back into the realm of imagination. The English poet Percy Shelley once said that the great instrument of moral good is imagination. When Jesus suggests that we love our enemies, he's imaginatively expanding our concept of what it means to be human. When the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung asks us to love those parts of ourselves that we find unappealing and just downright dreadful, he's imaginatively challenging us to take a new path for personal renewal and growth. Imagination is the secret marrow of civilization, said Henry Ward Beecher. It is the very eye of faith. Even though I deeply believe that we are faith-based in imagination, many of us have a hard time putting the rational side of ourselves on the shelf, even for just a little while. I once visited a UU congregation that had a large, prominent sign next to their front door, right when you walked in, that read, "Welcome. Do not check your brain here." Magical thinking isn't part of our religion, we would proclaim. And I agree that it's crucial for us to bring our rational senses to the matters of faith. It's important that we ground ourselves in our understanding of truth and meaning in the real world in which we live our lives. But we must acknowledge, too, that our lives are surrounded by beauty, mystery, wonder, and magic. There may be a time to let that rational side of ourselves go. Now, myself and my kids have this love affair with magicians. Perhaps you do as well. For many years, we would go to the shows and be amazed. We would sit there with saucer eyes and just enjoy the realm of the impossible. Then came the time when we had to figure it out, when we had to know exactly how it was done. Where was that dove hiding? How did they distract us to look away over here so that that sleight of hand worked? And you know what we discovered? We much prefer the first way of being. So we no longer try to figure it out. When we removed the magic from the trick, it simply made it interesting, and the wonder was gone. So now we let go of the need to know, and we sit back and enjoy the feeling of being mystified. Where was the dove hiding? Who cares? We check our reason at the door of the magic show, and we simply prepare to be amazed. Now, we do not check our reason at the door when we gather here, even though we do not have a big sign by the front door that says that. Here we bring our sense of mystery, our longing for wonder, and our thinking mind. Our thinking mind fuels our sense of mystery, which feeds our imagination, which creates possibility. We just need reminders every once in a while that we don't need to know all of the answers. We don't need to know how the trick happens, but we need to know what we long for and what we can imagine. Albert Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world, all there ever will be to know and understand." Imagination ignites passion and helps us see a different way forward. Now imagine, if you can, a restaurant where there are no prices on the menu. Can you call that up? A place where the meal is served as a gift by volunteers, and at the end of it, you receive your bill for $0. The bill comes with a note that explains your meal was a gift from someone who came before you. And if you wish to pay it forward, you can make a contribution for someone who comes after you and keep the circle going. Can you imagine this? Do you think it's too outrageous to work? It's a restaurant called Karma Kitchen, and it does actually exist. It was started in Berkeley, California in 2007, and one of its founders, Pavitra Mehta, wrote this: "When the other founders and I started the project, we had no idea if it would sink or float. But more than 8 years later, it's going strong with 20 restaurants around the globe serving more than 35,000 meals. Our biggest hurdle was one of imagination. We were creating an entirely new way to run a restaurant with no tracking system, no way to monitor how much individual tables receive and how much they give. But in our minds, we knew we could create a system based on generosity and gratitude. That was our vision, based in gratitude and generosity, and once we could imagine it, we knew that we could do it. Karma Kitchen works on the deceptively simple premise that the heart that fills, spills. The fact that there's no way to know who in the chain before you paid for your meal, and no way of knowing who will receive your contribution, makes it quietly revolutionary, gently shakes people out of the rational mindset system that transcends any one person's control and invites trust in the cycle as a whole. Gratitude is what bolsters the spirit to take that leap of faith. It's the bridge that enables them to keep moving forward, even when they couldn't imagine what this would be like, couldn't imagine any way possible that it would actually work. It was an act of profound trust in the human spirit. That kind of trust built a web of resilience, and it turned a group of people into a community. Gratitude is an imaginative state. Perhaps even more important than what transpires at the restaurant is what happens outside of its walls. The ability to imagine a different world is actually helping to bring that world into being, not recognizing strict boundaries, and once it is ignited, it asserts itself in daily lives. Makes us kinder and more compassionate, more willing to act on our impulses for good. As one guest turned volunteer said, "I've realized Karma Kitchen has turned me into the kind of person I always imagined I could be. The kind that stops to help others, the kind that reaches out, the kind that connects. It has helped me realize a world where kindness is the norm and cruelty is seen as an exception." What kind of world can you imagine? Can you imagine a society with homes for everyone? Your imagination will guide us to build sufficient affordable housing. Can you imagine a world where there's enough water for all, where we all use only the resources that we truly have? Your imagination will ensure there are resources for communities around the globe. What kind of world can you not even imagine, but would like others to help you make that leap of faith? The gift of imagination is the gift of noticing that nothing is as limited or set in stone as we sometimes believe. To say that things are as we imagine them to be is an incredible reminder of the power we all have. Not only to see that life and to realize that we are so much more than we sometimes believe, but also that life and we can be so much more than we sometimes imagine. You can have superpowers. You can see incredible things. You can love everyone you meet. You can mean it when you smile. You are amazing. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. And I now invite you into the giving and receiving of today's offering. You'll notice in your order of service, it is an outreach offering shared with the Respite Center program of the Center for Families, and we thank you for your generosity. And if you will rise now in body or spirit to join in our closing hymn, number 151. For the longing that told you it was time for a change, and for the courage you took to answer that call, we give you our blessings. For the choices already made, and for the daily choices that will shape the life ahead of you, we give you our strength. For the communities that have shown you who you are, and the new communities waiting to discover you in your new ventures, we give you our hopes and our dreams. For the great mystery of what lies ahead, we give you our love. May you see something of beauty along the way, touch hands with those you love, and give more than you get. Go in peace, blessed be, and please be seated for the postlude.
Dear